Good morning, everybody. Happy Tuesday, DWG, and my goodness, what a Monday night we had last night. I don't even know where to start. Why don't we start with what happened in the afternoon? The Philadelphia Flyers signed a new head coach, Alain Vigneault. Alain Vigneault, French coach for a French captain, I suppose. And I know that everyone's going to wonder, what is Q thinking? Well, first of all, it's not Mike Yeo, so that's a good thing. And, I know Philly wanted to make a big push for Quenneville. They had the money to do it. It was just Quenneville had a better fit in Florida. This is probably the second best option, given the fact that there's a lot of vacancies. There's not a lot of experienced head coaches. He has taken two teams, Vancouver and the Rangers, to the Cup final. So I suppose there's that opportunity. Philadelphia doesn't really need much. They don't need much change. I think I compare Philly going into next season very similar as to Winnipeg 2 years ago when Winnipeg missed the playoffs. Winnipeg didn't get any goaltending that year. Hellebuck was just a rookie, and Pavlik was a mess, and Hutchison was a mess. And then they gave the reins to Hellebuck. He took them. They got some goaltending, and they wound up in the conference finals last year. I really think it's very similar to that situation. Philly just didn't get any goaltending for the first 30 games. But now that this season's over for them, Brian Elliott and Michael Neuwirth, both injured and brutal, won't be coming back. Chances are they're going to sign Cam Talbot to a friendly backup contract for 3 to 4 years, and Carter Hart will be their starter. So if they can get any kind of goaltending off to a good start, especially considering some of the powers being shifted in the East to the Atlantic Division, and it'll certainly be shifted in the offseason with Florida probably grabbing a couple, which means Columbus is... we'll get into Columbus later, but Columbus is probably going to be a weaker team than they were this year. And then, we're starting to see the windows closing in Pittsburgh, Washington, a little bit slower. I know it's going to be the Islanders, Carolina, and Philly battling for those top three spots in the next 5 years. So, should be interesting there, but I'm okay with Alain Vigneault. I'd say at 8 out of 10. If there was one coach I thought they could have maybe tried to steal from somebody, I was kind of hoping maybe Sheldon Keefe. But it looks like the Leafs have a pretty good stranglehold, and they're paying him pretty much pro dollars to stay. And the reason I say that is if the Leafs don't win the next 2 seasons, there's only 2 years left on that Babcock contract, they will bury that and they will bring Sheldon Keefe up. So Babcock, the only way that Babcock stays more than the next 3 seasons is if he wins the Cup or he decides to walk away on his own terms. Otherwise, he's getting booted out if they have 2 more playoff failures, so this year and next year. And if we go by last night, the Leafs are up 2-1. Very, very close game. I thought it was a good back and forth game. I'm still not totally convinced that the refereeing in this series, at least, I've seen some other series as well, it could be better. There's a fine line between letting players battle and there's some of the guys I can tell by watching, there's some guys on both teams that are diving, and then there's legit non-diving, and they're not calling enough, to be honest with you. I don't think they're calling enough. Because I watched some of these other series. San Jose's had 16 power plays in 3 games, and that's not the same officiating that I'm seeing in the Leafs Bruins series. And it's a far cry from what I saw in the regular season. And I will note this too: the Bruins are one of the highest penalty teams with most penalties. One of the highest penalized teams in the league this season. And Toronto is one of the lowest teams to receive power plays. They're getting no calls. They have been getting no calls all year, and I have a feeling, and it's the human piece to it, is that if you look at their power play lineup, and I'm not saying it's every time, but if you look at their lineup and the referee sees a 50-50 call, he's probably, when it comes to Toronto, he's probably going to say it has to be a 60-40 call for him to make that call, because a referee never wants to impact a game or the outcome of a game, especially in the third period. And if it's a 50-50 call and you're putting that lineup on the power play, it's going to make a big impact on the game. So that's my theory behind why the Leafs don't get their calls, is because unless it's a straight up penalty, if it's a 50-50 call on whether or not it's a penalty or not, they're not going to make it, because you saw last night, 12 seconds into the one power play, Austin Matthews buries the puck. Now the Leafs have had some trouble with their power play, but by and large, if you give them more opportunities, they're going to make good on them, especially given some of the players that they have there. So, with the Leafs winning last night, it makes things interesting, because I really thought the Bruins were going to hold serve last night, and probably if Boston had won last night, I'd say, it didn't look too good for the Leafs. But, this series is far from over. It's going to go 7 games. I'm sure if you put a best of 17 on the board there, they would play the 17th game. It's just so back and forth and close. But this series isn't over until Brad Marchand slew-foots somebody. And trust me, that's going to happen. That's definitely going to happen. He's going to slew-foot somebody. And, it's funny how, when the Leafs play better defensively, it's because Jake Gardiner is on the third pairing, which I think is a huge advantage to them. Charlie Coyle was great last night. He was probably the best Boston Bruin, in my opinion. He was phenomenal. And you can't say enough about Mitch Marner. Mitch Marner is all of 160 pounds, and he's blocking shots and beating guys to the puck. And he's probably one of the best penalty killers since Pavel Datsyuk I've seen. He's an unbelievable penalty killer. When those offensive guys get an opportunity and they got wheels, they know how the forwards think on the power play, and they can cheat a little bit, or they can be more instinctual on those plays. So he was unbelievable as well. I'm not going to hand out any stars or anything, but those two guys to me stood out in that series. And when we talk about stars, the Dallas Stars lost last night at home, and I've always said that the old saying goes, you're not in trouble till you lose at home. So Dallas loses at home to Nashville. Nashville's starting to gain some momentum here. They go up 2-1 in their series on the road. And then the Stars that didn't show up last night, Gaudreau, Johnny Hockey, Johnny Ham and Cheese, is nowhere to be found. Maybe he's still at the airport terminal in Calgary. I'm not sure. But Nate MacKinnon has taken over that series. Nate MacKinnon is unbelievable hockey player. And I think everybody knows that after the last couple of years. His coming out party, he had a couple lulls, and Colorado lucked out when he was still trying to figure things out, and they locked him up to a long-term deal. I think he's making like 6.5 or something like that. An unbelievable deal for a player like him. But his coming out party was the World Cup, and that was kind of when I was like, wow, he's really, really taking a jump here. And then of course he had a couple great seasons. If we look at Nate MacKinnon now, Connor McDavid is unbelievable, and he does things that nobody else can. And then Sidney Crosby is an unbelievable work ethic and a low post guy, and a guy that just uses his low center of gravity to push guys around in one-on-one battles. If those two guys are the opposite ends of a superstar spectrum, I got to think Nate MacKinnon is right in the middle, because Nate MacKinnon is so powerful, but he also has the unbelievable skill set that Connor McDavid does. When he skates with the puck, he can actually skate just as fast with the puck as without the puck, and that's dangerous, and that's really what sets Connor McDavid apart from everybody else is the ability to skate with the puck just as fast as without the puck. And that's where a lot of guys really get, they can't do that. Like the way he stick handles. Nate McKinnon actually stick handles faster when he's with the puck. I don't even know how you do that. It's unbelievable. But he's taken over that series, and it doesn't look good for Calgary. And it's amazing after 5 days, the narrative going in was Calgary's going to the final and Tampa's going to the final. And Calgary is Canada's best chance at the final and going maybe to win a cup. And now we've got Calgary, who's in a mess. The way they've lost, it doesn't look good. If you lose a couple games in overtime, that's fine. But the way they got pounded last night, they got to come back. And then if you look at Tampa, elimination game tonight, which I can't even believe that we're talking about Tampa Bay in an elimination game. I expect Tampa to win tonight. But boy, oh boy, would I ever love to see some kind of like overtime magic. If that game went into overtime and somebody like Matt Duchene, who's had a bad rap for a while, being a bit of a curse in the play to make the playoffs. If he ever got an overtime goal and knocked them out, wow, that would send waves through the NHL. And certainly, if Duchene has another good game tonight, he's going to start adding some zeros to his contract as a UFA coming up here. And I don't know where he's going to end up, but if he has a good playoff, he can really, really make some dough this summer. So, of course, probably the biggest news last night, the stuff that went all over Twitter, was Ovi and his fight with Svechnikov. And, I've watched the play 4 or 5 times. Svechnikov looks like he nods. I'm not sure if he said, let's go. I have a feeling, with Ovi dropping the gloves first, he kind of was forced to drop his gloves. And that's kind of what Rod Brindamore was getting at. But listen, you're in the playoffs. If you're going to start whacking the big dog and then you proceed to glide forward and shake your head, that is code for let's go. So if you're Svechnikov, don't feel sorry for a rookie that is biting off more than he can chew, because he fucking had it coming to him. And if his older brother, Yevgeny Svechnikov, puts out a tweet and says, 1-2, Freddie's coming for you. I mean, come on. Yevgeny, like, Ovi is the KGB. His fucking godfather is Vladimir Putin. You ain't fucking touching Ovi, even if you think you got anything. And I don't know when Yevgeny Svechnikov's ever going to play him, because he can't even play in Grand Rapids. I think he's hanging out in a bar in fucking Toledo right now playing for the Walleyes. He's so bad. So good luck trying to get back to the show, and when you do, fighting Ovi, because it ain't happening. The only time you're going to get a chance to see him is when he gets the fucking Medal of Honor in Russia. So, to the Svechnikov boys, don't bite off more than you can chew. That's your lesson for today. That's all I got for today. Not much else going on. We got a lot going on in the NHL and the show tonight. So buckle up, boys. Tuesday's here, and let's get at her.